think we are recording. All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to LisaBugYoga. We are in the month of December 2023 with our first live class since my knee replacement. And I was thinking today about what I wanted the focus of class to be. They usually have a little bit of a theme. And just coming from where I am and have been for the last 12 weeks, I thought we could focus a little bit on patience because that's been something that I have been lacking the past few weeks because I really want to get this moving quicker than how I'm going. And I think that's the case for a lot of us if we've had an injury, if we're aging, just life in general, things that happen. Sometimes we don't want the course to go the way it's going. We want to speed it up a little bit. So I want you to pull that into your practice today with whatever you need a little bit of patience in your life. Maybe it's getting ready for the holidays and things aren't going quite the way that you'd like to see it. Whatever it is, maybe in your body, and just focus on the word patience as we come onto our mat and start in mountain pose. So a review of mountain, we can stand with our feet about hips distance apart, or we can pull them in a little closer together, squeezing our feet and thighs really tight. We're thinking about a tall posture. And let's roll our shoulders up and back and down and bring the palms of our hands forward. Just standing as tall as we can. When we're in mountain, we want to keep our head over our shoulders over the hips over the knees over the ankles. Feel your core engaging here. So gently brace through the abdominals. Gently squeeze your glutes down into your thighs. Feel those powerful muscles there. And then if you feel comfortable with this, I'd like for you to just slightly lift your heels away from the floor and drop them down. And just rise and fall. That might be a little tricky if your feet are close together, so you can separate them a little wider. And then we'll rise and fall. Just any amount. Doesn't have to be way up on the tippy toes. And then do you notice there's more connection of your core muscles as you shift your body center of gravity off of your heels and onto the balls of your feet? Now, where is your breathing? And don't change it. I just want you to notice it. Are you breathing way up here in your chest? Are you able to take a fuller breath down into the lower ribs and into the belly? Is your breath slow and even with the inhalation and the exhalation, or do you feel like it's starting to quicken a little bit with the work that you're performing here? There's no right or wrong. That's just your breath this morning. Let's rise and fall one more time. And drop it down. As we have our palms facing forward, let's sweep the arms about halfway up and then press the palms down into the earth. And we'll link that with our breathing by inhaling out, exhaling down. And as we inhale, we'll inhale some patience. And exhale any stress or anxiety that's maybe keeping you from being your most patient self. And if this is feeling okay for your shoulders, you can explore a bigger range of motion, maybe sweeping 3/4 of the way up and pressing down. And how would it feel if you lifted off your heels and then lowered? A little bit more tricky. And you're going, as always, in LisaBug classes at your own speed, at your own range of motion. And I'm always just here to give you suggestions, and then you move this the way that feels best for your body. Let's finish one more together. And then maybe separate your feet just a little bit wider, slightly turning your toes out. And we'll take the right arm in front of the body and then out and away and start to turn and look that direction. Let your arm drop. Bring the left arm in front of your body. Turn to the left and let the arm drop. And this is a progression of our Tai Chi form called waving hands like clouds. And we're starting to rotate through the entire spine, the neck, that cervical spine, the mid-back, our thoracic, the lower back, just a little bit, the lumbar spine. So notice, as you bring that right arm down, it wants to just come underneath as the left arm is coming up. So you start to put them together, and that's the waving hands like clouds. As the right arm is coming under, the left arm is moving out to the side. And your palms can be facing toward you, they can be facing up. And make this movement a little bit more generous. And then start to pick up one foot. So as you move to the right side, just slightly pick up the left foot. And it can be your entire foot or just your heel. And so I'm feeling still a little bit unstable when I completely stand on my left leg, but I can for just a bit, really bracing the abs. And let's take one more of these each direction. And then just move both hands right to the center and soften through your wrists and lower your arms. Beautiful. So I have a chair next to my mat. If you don't have a chair, you can maybe come down onto your hands and knees. My knee isn't ready to have any pressure on it, which is the main reason I'm using the chair. So if you want to come down on your hands and knees on the mat, feel free. Otherwise, we're hands and feet. We are going to press to either a standing or a kneeling version of your child's pose. So if I stand up, I can press back and really stretch through the shoulders, through the chest muscles, into that upper back. If you're on your knees, you can sit your hips all the way back to your heels if you like, or you can keep your hips and your heels separated any amount. And as we inhale, draw yourself forward so your shoulders come over your wrists. They don't have to be directly over. And then push back to your child's pose again. Exhaling. And we'll inhale to come forward. And exhale to press back. So this standing version is also a great version of a downward facing dog. So it can either replace our child's pose if we don't want to come down to the mat, or it can replace our downward dog if we don't want to put our hands all the way down on the mat and put a lot of stress and weight into our shoulders. Let's do one more, inhaling forward to all fours. Exhaling back to child's pose, standing or kneeling, and let's hold here a few breaths. And I want you to push down into your hands so you're creating some power in your upper body. It doesn't have to be really intense. I just want you to feel those muscles switching on. And 2 more breaths here. If you're in child's pose on the mat, kneeling, your head can be on the mat. 1 more breath. And bring yourself to that all fours, either standing or kneeling. And I'm going to walk forward just a little bit more so I have the hands and the shoulders about in the same orientation. And let's take the right arm and lift the elbow up. Start to turn your body and do a big circle. Setting your hand back down on the floor or the chair. Bring your left elbow up, twist and circle. And just start to alternate sides. So this movement is similar to what we did with our waving hands like clouds. It's just a circular rotation backward with a twist of the spine. And just let your breath move whatever feels best. There's no right or wrong. You can either inhale as the elbow's coming down, exhale back, or the opposite is great as well. And then you can start to explore a bigger range, maybe taking that hand and sweeping it all the way up and around. You can even follow your hand or your elbow with your eyes. Just trace around as far as you can look. Sometimes we don't think about moving our eyes in our yoga practice, but it's so functional. If that gives you a little bit of a dizzy feeling, that's okay. You can just keep your head straight down toward the floor as well. Let's bring this around one more time on each side. How are the shoulders feeling? And then back to that all fours position. Now, if you're on your hands and knees, I'd like you to step your right foot forward and go ahead and come into a lunge and stand up. If you're using your chair, same thing. Right leg steps forward. We have a bend in that knee. We're going ahead and rise up into our warrior one. So before we add the arms, I want you to think about squaring your shoulders and your hips straight ahead. There's some separation between your feet, right and left. So you don't want to stand like you're on a balance beam. You want to stand on railroad tracks. That way you can get that left hip to push around forward. And let's bring our hands right about to shoulder height with our thumbs up. And either just the elbow or the full arm will circle around, turning your body until it comes all the way to meet the left hand, and we'll circle it around. Now notice which side you have more range of motion. In this closed hip position, it should feel harder to twist to the right and easier to open up to the left. And connect your breathing. So if that full arm circle isn't working for your shoulders, you don't even have to lift the arm at all. You can just roll the shoulder back and around, roll the shoulder back and around. One more to each side, turning maybe your eyes as well. And then if it feels okay for you, both arms here or up any amount a little higher. And let's activate the core. Gently brace the abs. Pull your shoulder girdle down so your shoulders aren't elevating up to your ears. Feel the strength in your legs. 2 more breaths. And then you change feet the way that works for you. So I'm going to use my chair by stepping or bringing my hands down and stepping the back foot forward. You can bring your hands all the way down to your mat and switch legs. So we'll have the left foot forward, the right leg behind us. So take your time to set up your good alignment here. And I'm doing a short stance warrior one. So you'll notice the distance between my front foot and back foot isn't very far. You can take that back foot a little further if you'd like, as long as you can get those hips to square forward. And your back foot is only turned out just a little bit. And then let's bring the arms forward. We'll start by moving to the left first to rotate, circling around, and back to center. And there's no rush with our movement pattern here. Patience is our virtue. We want to feel that entire circle come all the way around the edge, the circumference. Noticing when we go to the right side, it's a little easier to get that full range than it is when we open up to the left. And then we add our breath. We're not holding the breath. We're just letting it naturally move. Now, by this time, we've done a lot of circles, so you might say, gosh, this is getting a little challenging. So move to a lower range. Because sometimes what we do with our arms is just what I call an accessory movement. It builds our foundation from our legs, and then it moves up into the core. And those are the two main focuses of that warrior. And then what we do with our arms is just a little bit of icing on the cake. And take one more to each side. We're going left side first, then right. And then we see where we'd like to hold our warrior. Hands can be forward. If you need a little bit more of a break for the shoulders, hands can be down or at your hips, or we can extend them up. Really square those hips, right hip forward, left hip back, shoulder blades down, abdominals braced. If you like a little back bend here, you can extend even a little more. And we'll take 2 breaths. And then in your own way, change legs. So hands can come to the chair, they can come to the floor. You can step the back foot forward and the front foot back again. Same pose, warrior 1. Separating our feet right to left. And then this time we'll come up and bring hands to hips and really pull those shoulder blades back. And on an inhale, we'll straighten the right leg. On an exhale, we'll bend it. And then you control how deep that bend is. So generally, we want to make sure that the knee stays over the ankle. We're focusing on the quad. One more. Inhale, straighten the leg. Exhale, bend the knee. Then we'll straighten the leg, hold it straight, re-square those hips off, and then we'll start to hinge right from the hip crease forward until we feel the back of the right leg say, oh, that's a nice stretch right there. We can bring our hands to our chair if that feels comfortable. If you're pretty flexible, you might have a block at home that you can hold yourself up here, or you can come all the way down to the mat. And let's just breathe. Now, some important things are to keep a little softness to this knee. So we don't want to lock it out or hyperextend that knee. And then I want you to look at your foot. It's easy to see here. So make sure you have a little space under your arch. Call it the little mouse hole sometimes. So keep a little space under your arch, but push your big toe down into the floor and the middle of your heel. So you're really locking in a good Pada Bandha, which is our foot lock. Now, our patience sometimes makes us want to get out of this pose. So we have to think about, well, is that because this is hurting me and I do need to get out? Or does it mean that my mind is just a little bit bored here? So just kind of think about where you are being patient to hold this pose, and maybe you can explore a deeper range coming down into it. Perhaps you need to take a break, come back to it when it feels a little bit better. And let's take a couple more breaths. This is our pyramid pose. And then you're changing feet the way that works best for you. We'll start by rebending that front knee a little bit, stepping the back foot forward. If you need a break before you step back with the other foot, you can stand up for a moment. And then we'll step the right foot back into that comfortable warrior 1 stance. Coming up, hands to hips. So try to pull your elbows as close as you can together without feeling any stress in the fronts of your shoulders. So you feel a little stretch there. Inhale to straighten out your left leg. Exhale to bend it any amount without going way over your toes. Inhale and exhale. If you feel comfortable, look down at your knee and make sure it's tracking right over those two middle toes. Though sometimes our knee will start knocking in. That happened to me a lot when I had my knock knee in this left side. So we want to keep it moving and tracking really straight. Sometimes that involves firing the outside of the glute muscles a little bit. Let's do one more. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. Inhale, straighten and hold. And then we'll slowly start to hinge right at the hip crease with a straight back. So what we don't want to do is to start to hunch our body and start to bend over with a rounded spine. That doesn't give us the stretch we want. So we're keeping the spine neutral. We're tipping the sitting bones back and coming down any amount that we can with a neutral spine. And that includes your head. So the head goes with you. It doesn't stay up looking forward. It doesn't look down toward the back foot. So just a really good neutral spine. And then you can use that chair to help you brace or take it down to a block or to the floor. And with our flexibility and with our stretching, a good thing to know is we don't always have to go to 100%. And sometimes we want to hit that edge of our pose right away. And sometimes our muscles will say no, and then it'll cause a little bit of a stretch reflex response. Sometimes you'll see the muscle shaking a little bit, so just be gentle with it. You've got some time here to take it a little lower if you'd like. And then look at your feet or your front foot. Make sure there's a space under your arch, but you have your big toe pressed down. That's hard to do because we're almost doing two different actions. We're pushing the ball mound of our big toe down, but we're trying not to roll into the center of our arch. And then push down right into the center of your heel. Pada Bandha. Let's take 2 more breaths here. See if you can lower a little more. Softness in the knee joint. And then we're switching sides one more time. So take a moment to switch, rebending the front knee, stepping forward with the back foot. If you need a break, you can stand up for a moment. And then stepping back with the left. Okay, I want to give you 2 different options with our next sequence as I get my balance back here. So we are going to bring the hands down to the chair, or you can support here on your front thigh. And bring it down to the chair. And we can keep this right knee bent, or we can straighten it. I'm going to leave that up to you depending on how tight your hamstrings are. And then the right arm circles. And for this pose, we're staying on the right side each time. You can just circle your elbow or just the shoulder itself. You can turn your head or keep it looking down. And then when that arm comes to a place where it feels like a really good stretch for you, then I want you to hold it. It might be straight up, could be back behind you. You might say, I need to just put it at my hip. So anywhere you'd like, holding 2 breaths. And then come out of that twist. Hands come to the chair. And we'll lift the back foot. Heel comes up off the mat. Then the leg rises any amount. We find our warrior 3. Do you need to use the chair for this? No, you don't have to, because this is intended to be a pose that balances on one leg. But with the chair, it's fantastic because you can just put one finger just lightly touching so that you're not worrying as much about falling out of the pose. So you can start to think about what your body's doing, activating your back leg really strong, feeling the muscles of the right hip, hamstring, quad, calf really supporting you, and you're breathing. Let's take 2 more breaths here. And then very carefully lower that left foot back down to the floor, ball of the heel first, press, or ball of the foot, then press into the heel, coming up. Bring your arms to goalpost or cactus arms. So I have my arms in this position, shoulders down, elbows a little lower than the shoulders, and pull back with your elbows. If you'd like, you can add a little baby back bend. Keep your core braced. And then find your special way to switch feet. I really enjoy using the chair to step forward. Taking a break if you need to stand up. And then stepping our right foot back for our last Warrior One sequence. So once you find your stance, then your choice is to either brace here on your leg or to come down to your chair, to keep your left knee bent or to straighten it. And then it's our left arm that circles around this time. Either just the shoulder or just the elbow coming up and around, or that full arm. And we try to really lock in that Pada Bandha, that foot lock we talked about earlier. Ball mound of the big toe pressing into the earth, center part of the heel, lifting our arch up. It's pretty hard work. Let's come around one more time and find a place where you want to hang out, where that stretch feels really good for you on this side. 2 breaths. And then we'll bring it back down out of the twist, preparing for our Warrior 3. It's our balance pose of the day. So we start to lift the back heel up and then lift the back leg any amount. When we do Warrior 3, what happens is our right hip wants to lift up here. So I want you to press your hip down so the back of your pelvis is completely level. Sometimes I say, could you balance a little cup of tea on your tailbone? And then you can decide if you want to try to let go. Pull your abs in and up. Fire all the muscles in your legs. Reach your right heel way out behind you. It can be at any height, it can be down here. And we'll take 2 more breaths. And then we'll start to reach the ball of that right foot back down to the floor. And the heel, rebending the front knee. Bring yourself up to your goalpost arms, W arms. Spread your fingers out a little bit so you're really activating your hands. We'll stay here a couple of breaths, pulling the elbows back, maybe adding a baby back bend. And then we'll step into our mountain pose. If you'd like, the hands can come down to the chair first to step that back foot forward. It's nice to help with a little bit of balance. Feet can be tight together or hips distance apart, and we'll rise up to our mountain. And I just want you to check in for a second. have some patience, that we don't feel like we need to rush to the next movement. We just want to check in now and see how the breath is moving as compared with beginning of class. And if you'd like, you can lift your heels up off the floor a little bit, set them down. If you need to have access to a wall or a chair to do that so you can help with balance, that's great. Those are just ways that we can find success in our practice. We want to get away from thinking, oh, I'm cheating if I'm doing that, because there's really no cheating. It's just finding the way that your body in its current state can do the movement. Let's do one more, raising up and lowering down. Sweep the arms forward, inhale. Exhale, press the palms, bring the thumbs toward the heart, start to bend your knees and sit back into chair pose. Now you can come down as deep as you feel comfortable in chair. It can be a little baby chair or set it down deeper. And then if you feel okay, send your arms directly out in front of you. We're going to combine our arm circles again with chair pose. So as you straighten your legs, start to lift your right arm, circle it around. You're going to look all the way around behind you. As it comes forward, you'll sink down into chair. Alternating sides, left arm reaches, open, look behind you any amount, and sit into chair. And we'll combine that with the breath by inhaling deeply as the arm is circling around. Breathe in, in. Start to exhale whenever you need to. Finish the exhale in the deepest part of your chair pose. When you come into chair, just drop your eyes a little bit and glance at your knees. Make sure that they are tracking over those two middle toes of your feet. I guess it's 3 that are in the middle, but what we're looking at is the second and the third toe. Let's take one more to each side, circling out to the right. And circling out to the left. Holding chair with any arm position that feels comfortable for you. And let's do some tiny, tiny chair pulses. So we'll let our hips drop down, part way up, down, part way up. Pulling the core in tight. About 5 more repetitions. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come all the way up, stretch and reach any amount with the arms. And then swan dive down to place your hands on your chair or all the way down to the mat and step back to down dog. So again, if you're using the chair, this is a great way to do your down dog. Or the hands can come all the way down to the mat. You can step those feet back, holding your down dog. Now, do you have to touch your heels? No, but it's much easier to do with the hands on the chair, so you might feel that your heels are easily touching. But if your hands are on the mat, they're going to float up any amount until you feel a great stretch. Now we are going to be doing some seated twists. So if you'd prefer to have a seat in your chair, you can rise up from your down dog, walk your feet forward, have a seat in your chair, or from your down dog, find a way that you can bring yourself down into a seated position. I'll give you time to get there. Sitting nice and tall, We'll start with our knees bent a fair amount. So we're up on the sitting bones. And then we'll extend that right leg forward. So just reach it out. Sitting tall, bring your left knee closer into your chest, any amount. And then start to twist toward the bent knee. We can wrap our arm around that leg. We can bring the elbow all the way over. The left hand can come behind us on the floor and just rotate, looking over that left shoulder as far as you can. Sit tall and breathe. Think about patience in this pose. So when we're holding a twist and breathing, when we inhale, we want to think about stretching upward with our spine as high as we can. Then when we exhale, we think about just twisting a tiny bit more. And if you're already at your edge for the twist, that's okay, but keep that breath moving. One more breath here. And then we'll slowly come back to center. Staying on the same leg, we'll do a counter twist. So this left hand can come across the thigh, but I want you to be sure you don't press it out. So squeeze your knee in toward you while you're bracing your arm against the inner knee. And same thing, rotating to the other side. We'll lengthen the spine up as we breathe in. Slightly rotate a little bit more as we breathe out. And that might be just finding more rotation through your head. Doesn't always have to be through the whole spine. It's probably not going to be in the lumbar spine. We have very little ability to twist in our lower back. So we don't ever want to force that low back region to try to twist. Press down into your left foot. Lifting up a little higher. One more breath. Exhale. And come back to center. Let's move into Paschimottanasana. So we'll just let this knee fold out a little bit. Now, if you need some support here, you might want to take a blanket or some kind of a prop, maybe a little pillow, and support. You don't have to, but it's just kind of nice because then you can let this muscle relax. And I have found after my knee replacement, I am just so tight everywhere. Normally, I'd be able to drop this knee out a little more, but everything's kind of frozen up. So I'm going to relax that onto the blanket. Paschimottanasana is a dynamic forward fold. So if you want to use your arms, you can. We'll inhale to stretch. Exhale and lean forward just any amount until something in your body says, whoa. And for me today, it's my low back. I'm not even getting to my hamstring yet, but that's okay. Inhale, come up. We're having patience with this pose. Now your arms don't have to be up. You can inhale here, exhale and reach. I know some of you at home like to bring your hands behind your body and lean forward and push with your fingertips a little bit, and that works great. And what I like about that is it keeps your shoulder blades back. So let's do one more with the breath. Inhale to come up. Exhale forward and then hold wherever you are. If you have a yoga strap with you at home, this is a great opportunity to flip that over the bottom of the foot. Give yourself a little pull with the yoga strap. And let's let the breath slow down a little bit. Now with this pose, I like to flex the foot. It doesn't have to be flexed, but it helps you really to find some muscular work in the front of the shin. And it helps you relax the calf a little bit. But it does give you a deeper hamstring stretch. One more breath. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, sink into the pose. And we will rise up. Nicely done. All right, let's bring this leg to come out to straight. And we'll bend the right knee. And this is my surgical leg, so it doesn't want to bend a lot until I really work on it. So it might not look the way yours does in terms of being bent, but I'm going to bring it to where I can. And then we'll sit tall and twist this time to the right side. Hand can come behind. You can support here. We inhale to lengthen, exhale to find a little bit mobility. It's been a while since I've taught a class. I had to think about which direction to tell you because I always have to mirror your direction. So I thought, okay, I'm going to my left. That's your right. So I hope I'm cueing everything correctly for you. 1 or 2 more breaths. Not forcing, just a gentle, relaxing twist. And come back to the center as we do our counter twist. So this right hand will come across, if that feels okay. Try not to let it push your knee out. So fire your inner thighs by pushing your knee toward your forearm and your forearm toward your knee. And let's twist the opposite direction. How's your neck feeling? Your low back, your mid back. We did a lot of active twists today, so hopefully that warmed everything up nicely so that when we're holding these twists, we have a really good range of motion. 1 more deep breath. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale. And then we'll come back to the midline and allow this knee just to open out. Support if you need. And really, this heel can be any amount toward you. With the lack of the bend in my knee, mine is more at my calf, but you might be able to bring it all the way up to your inner thigh. Square the hips with or without the use of the arms. We'll do our Paschimottanasana, inhaling to reach, exhaling to fold. Then you stop where you feel some region in your body saying, that's good enough. Oh, this is interesting. This is in my surgical leg quadricep. So I would have never felt that before. But that muscle's really tight after the application of the tourniquet and the trauma to the quad during the surgery. So I'm just going to let my right quad guide the range of motion for this stretch. Maybe each time you come forward, you come a little bit deeper. We'll do 2 more. Hands can be behind you or low to the floor. And our last one, we will hold. So if you're using your yoga strap, you can place it under the bottom of that left foot. And we'll just find a place where we can comfortably breathe. Patiently breathe. And depending on the length of your breath, maybe 2 or 3 more. And then we'll inhale to rise and exhale to lower. Let's bring the soles of both feet together for our butterfly. For me, it's looking more like a diamond shape since my feet are a little farther away from my hips. something happened here to our recording. I don't see myself anymore. I'm just going to come up and give this a check. If you can still hear the audio, once you get into your butterfly, just hinge forward and hold an inner thigh stretch. Interesting. I do not know what's happening here. If someone can text me, just let me know if you're still seeing anything on your end. If I'm not getting a message, I have a feeling you're not seeing me. I'm just going to look at my other device here. So you guys hold your stretch if you still have my audio. I'm on camera, Dave. Joanne sent me a message. Seem to have lost the signal. Do you guys see me on this one? Okay, you see me now, Joanne. I think maybe from my other device, I need to re-sign in. So if you guys can hear me from this device, go ahead and hold your butterfly. I'm going to try signing in from my other device again. So I will be right back. No, I think I'm going to have to, it's because that shows me on there. I'm going to have to teach from the back room. Okay, guys, I'm on my backup device, so I'm just going to talk you through the rest and just guide you into a little relaxation. So I'd like for you to come down into a comfortable Shavasana. Laying down on your back. You get to see my messy guest room because I've got Christmas gifts and stuff on the bed, but that's okay. So come on down onto your mat, or if you feel more comfortable sitting in a chair, that's okay too. And then just bring your right knee right up to your chest. Squeeze it up nice and tall. This is our wind relieving pose. And then circle your ankle around several times to the right, and then several times to the left. And you can hold that knee to chest with it bent, or you can extend your leg up toward the sky. Give your hamstring a little stretch. Lengthen for a couple of breaths. And then bring that leg back down. Lengthen it long. And then hug that left knee right up toward the chest. Give your ankle a little circle. Maybe 5 times to the right, 5 times to the left, or anything that feels good just to mobilize the ankle. And then if it feels better for your lower back, just keep your knee bent, pulling into the chest, or we can extend that leg up. Any amount, holding it, breathing. And then lower that leg back down. Let's bend both knees, feet about hips distance apart. Place your feet solidly flat onto the mat and do a little pelvic tilt. So you start to press your low back down into the floor and you're just curling your tailbone under. You can stay here in your pelvic tilt or start to lift your hips up off the floor any amount and hold a bridge. And then this bridge is yours. You can hold it, you can rise and fall, you can bring your hands behind your lower back and pull your shoulder blades a little closer together. Or maybe you're going to slip your yoga block underneath your pelvis and just do a supported bridge. So let's hold that for just maybe 4 or 5 breaths. And I want you to feel the power of your glutes, your hips, your thighs working. Or just if you're relaxing on your block, just let everything go. When you're ready to come down from the bridge, try to roll down one bone at a time. Once that lower back finds the earth, let's pull both knees up to the chest. So we're hugging in a tight little ball. You can hold around your shins. You can grab underneath the back of your thighs and just make some little circles, maybe either rock forward and back or circle those knees away from you and around. A few times to the right and then a few times to the left, and just let your lower back really loosen up. Good. And then we'll come into our reclined Baddha Konasana, Supta Baddha Konasana, or our butterfly bound angle pose. Setting your feet back down to the floor, let both knees open up like butterfly wings. And just check and see, does that feel okay for my body today? Your feet can be close to the hips or further away. Bring your arms out to the side, palms up, closing the eyes and breathe. If butterfly isn't working for you, maybe you're feeling a little stress in your lower back, you can extend your legs out straight, open them out a little bit more to your traditional Shavasana. Just finding a place where you can relax. If you're in the chair, just sit tall up against the back of the chair, close your eyes and breathe. And then we'll bring our awareness back to patience and how we can apply it to where we are in our life today, to any situations, things going on in our body that we need that patience for. And again, we'll inhale patience, exhale stress and anxiety. And as you do, allow your body to feel heavy into the floor, into your mat. The work is done in our practice today. Now it's time to reflect. Now it's time to rest just a bit and restore. Because work and rest is always a balance. It's a balance in our yoga practice. It's a balance in our traditional workouts. It's a balance in our everyday life. And sometimes in this day and age, we're go, go, go all the time, and we forget to rest and restore. So let's just remain here about another 60 seconds. And I'll remain for that time in quiet and just allow you to breathe. We'll begin now to find some movement in our body. That might be just a gentle movement of your fingers and toes, or perhaps turning your head from side to side, whether you're laying on the mat or sitting in your chair. It might feel nice to raise your arms above and give yourself a full stretch. And then I'd like for you to prepare the best way to come out of your Shavasana or your resting pose. You might find yourself back in a seated position. If you need to stay in meditation longer, feel free to remain as you are.